Hey guys, Captain CA here for Flats Class YouTube. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about some throwback stuff. Yeah, some throwback tackle to catch wintertime trout and redfish, and even the occasional snook. But sometimes the old stuff really is the fresh stuff. Stay tuned. We're going to walk up to the shop and talk about it. All right, what do I mean about the old stuff being the new fresh stuff? Well, when you've been fishing as long as I have, you start to rediscover old school baits. And when you fish a regular client base and you've taken them fishing dozens of times and you continue to throw 3-inch minnows, 5-inch jerk shads, tons of miradines, the standard topwater stuff like Top Dog Juniors or She Dogs, you start wanting to dig around and say, gosh, I gotta teach these guys and gals something new. Well, out of necessity, I've started reintroducing some of these nostalgic baits that have been around for a long time, but they're still super effective. And the benefit really is I teach them some new stuff, and these nostalgic baits start coming back a little bit, and the fish haven't seen them. So without further ado, I'm gonna break down 4 baits that I intend to use in the next episode. And that episode's going to be about how we're turning old stuff into fresh stuff. Stay tuned. Fortunately, next week I am fishing with Al. And Al is an old hand at fishing plug gear. Believe it or not, as big as his reputation is as a fly guide, he did a lot of bass fishing. And he was a plugger down in Everglades National Park and 10,000 Islands for an awful long time. So very skilled rod guy. So he'll be on the bow and I'll be pushing him around here on my nature coast, my backyard. And the goal is going to be to catch snook, redfish, and trout. And that's right, I did say all 3 species. And we're talking it's right here at Christmas time. And we've had, I'm gonna say a half a dozen days around the freezing mark. So water temperatures are cold. But believe it or not, the fish acclimate to those water temps and they're very receptive to big plugs. Big plugs in particular, because they're looking to strike one bait source a day or every few days as their protein to carry them through those fronts. So bigger plugs really work. The first one that we're gonna play with is going to be a modification of the 7M. Now this particular color, yellow belly, gold sides, and the green back, works extremely well in creeks and back bays. Now you'll notice that I took the middle hook off and I put oversized trebs on. These are probably in the size between 2 and 3 size treb hooks. And I like these hooks because they're the KVD style that come back up, they're VMCs that come back up toward the hook eye. And once the fish is on the bait, it's difficult for them to get off the bait. Cool thing about this bait, it's old school, is it's a floater diver. So it floats and then you give it this pulsing action, this flashing action, and it catches fish. Now, last week I fished with Jimmy Tinnell, one of my clients, and he had an unbelievable strike on about a 32-inch redfish fishing in this exact plug. And I've got a little action to show you right here. Jimmy with the old school lure, the Mirror 7M. Absolutely blasted it. This is one I modified too. I put those KVD hooks on it. Took the middle hook off. Got Captain Tom on the bow.
We got a little fight going on.
Yeah. We were just sitting
Coming
here
on the bow.
fishing topwaters this morning. Day after the cold front. It's not a big cold front, but it's cold enough. It's cold enough. That is a good one. Reel down on them quick. There you go. You gained on them. All right.
Beauty.
Look at that. That thing is a red submarine. There he is.
Damn, Billy.
Full grown. We'll get a picture of this guy. Hope you enjoyed that little clip of Jimmy catching that big redfish on that 7M. Now, let's talk a little bit about the next bait that I want to introduce to you. The old stuff, which is the fresh stuff maybe to you. And that's the 5M mirror lure. Again, I've taken the middle hook out. That's just for ease of use. I did not upgrade these hooks. These are the standard hooks for this plug. Now I did change one other thing. I took the front prop off because this plug comes with 2 props. I took the front prop off so it'll sit a little tail heavy so that when I slurp it, this bait rests on the surface and you just slurp it along. It does a really good job because it's a stop and go type bait. Really good on slick water or just a little ripple of wind. Fantastic trout bait. The color is perfect for up here on the Nature Coast because it's a black back, gold sides, orange belly. That's the old 808, the candy corn color, if you will. Very, very good bait for both snook that are a little bit sluggish, redfish, and trout. I've always really focused on trout with this particular bait, but this bait has got a lot of versatility, and even though it looks kind of like an antique, it still belongs in your tackle bag. So next time you're thinking about trying something new, try something old. All right, I'm going to show you what's next. Plug number 3. Now the third bait is another old school bait, naturally. And its beginnings are very humble. They started in a garage, kind of like this. And the guy's name was Paul Brown. That's right. And it's one of the biggest cult baits in the state of Texas. And that's the Paul Brown lure. Now it comes in a couple of different shapes. The Little Devil, the original, the floater, but this is the fat boy. And this color in particular, the pink sparkle, is absolutely nails for me when it comes to big trout. I know what you're thinking. I'm gonna have to see that to believe it because this looks pretty arts and crafts kind of stuff, like it won't catch anything. Well, I knew you were gonna say that. So I'm gonna provide a little clip right here so you can see a trout that I was bringing boat side with this bait in his mouth. Because I'm telling you, once you learn how to work this bait, we're gonna do a YouTube video on just the Paul Brown series. It's gonna make you one deadly trout fisherman and a true believer. Never would think that bait would catch trout, but it does. And I mean, I think it's the eye. I think it's the eye of the bait and the natural fall, the rocking fall of that bait, and the fact that you can move it so slow. It requires you to use a medium heavy action rod, but I'm gonna teach you that in a future video where we talk nothing but Paul Brown. But what I wanna do now is I wanna introduce you to the last bait. It's an old school popper bait. Now this is the Papa mullet in the mirror lure lineup. And again, you'll notice I've got the brown back, crackled gold sides, and the orange belly. This is what we call the low country boil color. Another fantastic creek back bay color, perfect for trout. Does an incredible job on lethargic snook, waking them up, bringing them up from the bottom. And it's an easy bait for even the redfish to get a hold of because we're working it slow. We're just walking the dog, popping it, and then stopping it. Popping it, and then stopping it. You'll also notice that I modified this one and put single hooks on this. It's because this one really does draw some huge strikes from some bigger fish. And I like to have the pulling power of having those single hooks on it. So the Papa mullet really does do an incredible job. So these 4 older style baits, just the technique and the strategy behind them, really are new because not as many folks are throwing these anymore. Everyone wants to throw the really lifelike stuff and all the soft plastics, and you guys get addicted to that. But I'm telling you, those 4 hard baits will put a lot more fish in your boat. And like I said, if you want to try something new, try something old. I do it all the time. If you like what you see here on Flats Class YouTube, I want you to give us a big thumbs up. Smash that like button. Also, I want you to subscribe because it's my job at Flats Class TV to make you a better inshore angler. Till next time, Captain CA signing off from Flats Class YouTube.